The desert does not whisper. It roars in silence. Miles and miles of nothing, just cracked earth, wind-carved rock, and a sun so bright it erases the sky into a blinding white. Out here, there are no street signs, no shade, no traffic, just a two-lane road that vanishes into heat shimmer, and a man behind the wheel of a dust-covered truck. His name is Carl. He doesn't wear a cape. He wears sweat-stained sleeves and dusty boots. Every morning, before the heat rises like a curtain of fire, he loads his truck with letters, bills, postcards, and boxes wrapped in quiet hope. He drives across this vast emptiness, not for glory, not for wealth, but because someone, somewhere, is waiting for a check to pay the electricity bill, for a birthday card from a daughter in Tucson, for a tiny box with arthritis cream that means less pain tonight. He is the mail carrier in the desert, the last thread of connection for people too far, too old, or too forgotten to matter to anyone else. And though the world may forget these roads exist, though the heat may crack his windshield and the wind may erase his tire tracks, he keeps going. Because in this place where nothing moves, his arrival means everything. Welcome to Unsung Hands, where silent hands are finally given a voice. Here, we tell the stories that time forgot, stories of those who work quietly behind the scenes, building the world while no one notices. Jobs that never make the headlines, but without them, nothing runs. If you believe that every life deserves to be heard, hit like to support these quiet but powerful stories. And don't forget to subscribe to Unsung Hands, so each week we can uncover another hidden chapter of the human journey together. Before the sun even breaks the horizon, Carl is already awake. The air is still cool then, not cold, never cold but quiet, like the desert is holding its breath. He moves slowly through his morning ritual, a single egg sizzling on a rusted pan, a thermos of coffee poured with steady hands. The scent of diesel and dust clings to his shirt before he even steps outside. His truck waits under a carport made of scrap tin, half swallowed by sand. The paint has long since faded. The tires are tired. The windshield carries the fine cracks of too many hot days and cold nights. But it runs, and that's all that matters. Inside the truck bed, stacks of mail sit in neat bundles, letters from banks, from prisons, from children scrawling uneven lines to grandparents they haven't seen in years. Amazon packages with dented corners, birthday cards, sympathy cards, medications with urgent in red. Carl arranges them with the precision of someone who knows exactly where every envelope belongs. Not by street, not by zip code, but by memory. He doesn't need a map. The desert has already drawn one in his bones. By 6:15 a.m., he pulls out of his driveway, gravel crunching beneath his wheels. The sky is soft pink, but already the heat waits behind the hills, sharpening its knives. The road ahead stretches into nothing, but Carl doesn't flinch. For him, nothing is exactly where everything begins. By mid-morning, the sun is no longer gentle. It climbs without mercy, turning the sky into a mirror of white light. Shadows shrink. The road shimmers. The desert begins to hum, not with birdsong or breeze, but with the low, vibrating silence of heat. Inside the truck, the air grows thick. Carl rolls down both windows, hoping for wind. There is none, just dry stillness, like the world is holding a hairdryer to his face. The vinyl seat beneath him burns through his pants. His hands, wrapped in cloth driving gloves, grip the wheel tight. The steering column is too hot to touch with bare skin. By noon, it's 118 degrees, maybe more. The dashboard thermometer broke years ago. Carl stops at a gate made of barbed wire and bent rebar. No house in sight, but he knows it's there half a mile off the road, hidden behind a bluff. He grabs a small box marked "Fragile" and steps into the sun. The ground is so hot, it blisters rubber. His boots sink slightly into soft tar patches where the road is melted. He walks slowly, conserving breath. The box presses against his chest like an oven brick. Buzzards circle far above, A lizard skitters into a shadow and disappears. Nothing else moves. When he reaches the porch, little more than a plywood square with a folding chair, he knocks once, leaves the package, and walks back without a word. Not because he's unfriendly, but because, in this kind of heat, even kindness has to wait. Most people imagine the desert as empty, but Carl knows better. Scattered across these endless miles are lives, quiet, weathered, stubborn lives, clinging to the land like creosote to cracked earth. They live in places no one drives to by accident. Places without Wi-Fi, without neighbors, without sound after sundown. Some call it freedom, others call it hiding. Carl doesn't ask. He just delivers. At mile 42, there's a rusted camper sunk into the sand, patched with duct tape and hope. An old man named Gene lives there, alone with 2 dogs and a radio that only plays static. Carl always brings his medication first. Gene once called it the difference between waking up and not. Further out, past a canyon wash and a dead saguaro, lives Mrs. Hargrove. Her mailbox is a coffee can on a stick. She's blind now, but every Thursday, Carl reads her letters aloud, her grandson's handwriting shaky, but filled with love. She smiles without opening her eyes, says the words sound like sunlight. And there's the Garcia family, 5 kids, 2 rooms, no running water. Carl brings schoolwork from the county office and, when he can, a few library books in Spanish. The kids meet him halfway down the dirt path, waving wildly, barefoot and dust-covered. Carl never stays long. He doesn't linger, but in those brief exchanges, a nod, a smile, a thank you whispered through a screen door, something passes between them. Something warmer than the sun and stronger than the silence. Out here, a breakdown isn't just inconvenient, it's a test. The kind of test where there's no one to call, no shade to sit under, and no timeline for rescue. Carl has learned to prepare like a man going into battle with extra water, a toolkit older than most of his mail, and a patience that runs deeper than panic. Once, the radiator blew 5 miles past Dry Gulch. He waited 3 hours in the truck, windows down, sweat pooling behind his knees. A coyote came close, watched him from the brush, eyes glowing amber in the light. Carl didn't move, just waited. The desert rewards stillness more than struggle. Another time, a flash flood swallowed the only bridge across Arroyo Creek. The water came fast, brown and wild, turning dry earth into a river in minutes. Carl backed up and slept in the truck that night, crickets chirping outside like soft ticking clocks. He made the delivery the next morning, mud on his tires and grit in his teeth. The roads change without warning. What was solid last week might be gone today, eaten by erosion, wind, or time. GPS is useless. Maps lie. But Carl remembers. A rock here, a fence post there, a branch that leans just so. And when the road vanishes completely, he drives by instinct. Not because he's fearless, but because out here, turning back is never part of the job. By late afternoon, the sun begins to sink behind the hills, softening just enough to cast long shadows across the land. Carl's truck rattles along the final stretch of road, a narrow path lined with dry weeds and the ghosts of fence posts long since fallen. He reaches the post office in Dustin just before closing, a 1-room building with peeling paint and a bell above the door that no longer rings. Marlene, the postmistress, nods as he hands off the last bundles. No words are needed, just a look, just understanding. Then he drives home. The road is the same, but emptier now. Fewer mailboxes, fewer homes. Over the years, people have left for cities, for jobs, for places where grocery stores aren't 3 hours away and the silence isn't so heavy. Some left quietly. Others didn't say goodbye. Carl still remembers where they lived, though. He still slows down when he passes their driveways, even if the wind has already covered them in dust. He knows this job won't last forever. Someday, someone will decide it's no longer efficient to serve these forgotten routes. They'll call it a budget cut, a logistical streamlining. But until that day, Carl will keep driving. Because in a world shrinking into speed and signal, there are still places where a knock on the door, a handwritten letter, or a worn pair of boots in the dust means something. And in those places, a mail carrier is more than a delivery man. He is a promise that even in the loneliest corners of the world, someone still remembers your name. The mail carrier in the desert tells the quiet yet powerful story of Carl, a dedicated mailman who drives across the scorching desert, enduring 120-degree heat and endless miles of isolation, to deliver letters and packages to those living off the grid. In a landscape where most have left and few remain, Carl shows up every day without fail. The heart of the story lies in its message. Even in the loneliest, most forgotten corners of the world, human connection still matters. Carl is more than a delivery man, he's a lifeline, a silent promise that someone still remembers you, even when the rest of the world has moved on.